Okay, so today's video is about disability. Usually my focus is on special educational needs. I've done hidden disabilities, but the events of last Friday have led me to decide to talk a bit about disability. Up until now I've always been very sympathetic towards disabilities, but not necessarily empathetic, because I'd never experienced anything that would make me fully get how it might feel. And then on Friday I tripped in the garden, fell flat on my face as it were, but not actually on my face, on my arm, and literally couldn't move. So we had to get an ambulance, had to go to hospital, and first thing before anything else, a shout out to the NHS, who were absolutely amazing. The ambulance took a long time, but not their fault. It was a Friday night, and whilst I was in pain and getting cold lying there on the steps in the garden, I wasn't in any actual danger. So there are people who are obviously higher priority, and that's not a problem. The ambulance people were amazing. They got me to hospital. They did all the relevant things. I've dislocated my shoulder, and I've now discovered the joys of morphine mixed with gas, and how they can take pain away. But the reason I'm talking about it is I've experienced two things since then. The disability of not being able to use my right arm, and I am so right-handed. I mean, my left hand, if I write with it, it tends to come out like mirror writing, which is not much use for most things. Entertaining maybe, but not much use. But also it made me realise two things. Firstly, how slow it was to do everything when I suddenly couldn't use this part of my body, you know, this vital right hand. I mean, my hand moves. I can fiddle around with it. I can move my fingers. I can actually move it, but I've been told I've got to have it in this pouch thing until I've been to the fracture clinic, because I'm not meant to be moving my arm around. I'm really lucky it's not broken. Really lucky. But of course it hurts. And of course I ache pretty much all over. It was a pretty spectacular fall. I don't do things by half measures, you know. And it just made me think about people I've mentioned before. I taught somebody, I've mentioned him before, with cerebral palsy. Now, he was somebody who always kept a cheerful face and all the rest of it on everything, always had a joke. But what I didn't realise until working with his occupational therapist and physical therapist is how much constant pain he was in. Now, doing everything, just simple jobs, you know, obviously I got myself up, showered, dressed, breakfasted, and that's something which I can do in 20 minutes, and it's taken an hour and a half each day. And my hair is a pretty, I mean, if I actually sort of spin around so you can see what it's like, it's pretty much of a mess, and that took, I would say, at least a dozen attempts to get it even this much, because I wanted it off my neck and off my face because I was sort of too hot. So that was a mammoth task, and it, because of doing it one-handed, and yeah, really weird. Just the things, it's not just that it's more difficult, but you're doing it and it's painful. And what I've realised that means is it's tiring, and we can easily forget the amount of pain people are in when they appear to be going around their daily business as normally as possible in spite of a disability. But the pain is exhausting. You know, yesterday I slept a lot. I'd sit down, I'd be like, oh, I can get on with this, I'll do this. Next thing I know, fallen asleep, you know, exhausted. And that's not like me. I'm one of these real get up and go energetic types. I find it ironic that I've not injured myself, touch wood, something like this ever through my martial arts. You know, do taekwondo, black belt, no injuries. I'll go out to water the garden and I managed to dislocate my shoulder. So that's, yeah, quite a feat. But I think I'm going back to what I've said about hidden disabilities and about the tick boxes. there's that tick box, can you do it? If they'd have said to me, I mean, obviously this isn't a disability, this is something that loads of people have experienced, a short-term disability, if you like. You're going to be unable to use a part of your body for a limited amount of time. So obviously, you know, you don't need any allowances or anything else. However, if that had been something permanent, you know, if I were answering those tick boxes, can you get dressed? Yes, I can. It just took an hour, and I had to modify what I wore according to the type of straps it had. It had to be sleeveless, and it had to, you know, the neck and the armhole had to be the right sort of sizes for me to be able to slip that arm through and then over my neck and all the rest of it. You know, dress I got out to wear this morning, couldn't wear because I physically couldn't put it on. But can I get dressed? Yes. The answer's yes. Did it take me a ridiculous amount of time, and did it hurt? Yes. But there's no space to put that in a tick box. You know, could I have a shower? Yes, I could shower myself. But again, it took longer. And cleaning the good side of my body is really hard when the bad side of my body doesn't want to work. You know, it's like, well, how do I reach that bit? How do I, you know, difficult. But I can do it. And so on and so on. You know, can I feed myself? Yes. Eating is exhausting. I love eating. I mean, just look at the size of me. I love eating. But actually, I'm not enjoying eating at the moment. I like the taste of the food, but oh, is it worth the faff? You know, just eating. I did myself a bowl of cereal today, just my normal sugar-free granola with some yogurty stuff, you know, trying to eat that. I was shattered after I'd eaten that. You know, I got so upset because I was trying to eat, to do myself some smashed avocado to have at lunchtime, and the last bit of it was quite a soft avocado, great, the last bit of it was rock solid, and I just couldn't get the stone out. And you feel so stupid, so useless, and you're like, yeah, I can do this, but it's an effort. And were this, you know, it's fine for me because it's going to last for what, a week? I don't know, 2 weeks, I don't know. But it's not permanent. It's something which I'm experiencing, but I know it's going to go away. Somebody who has a disability, a real lasting disability that's not going to go away. You know, the Alex Brooker programme that was on a couple of weeks ago really made me think about this. I wasn't expecting to experience any of it personally, and you know, I'm very, very lucky that it's as I say, I mean, a fall can end up with being something serious, and I was lucky it's just a dislocated shoulder. And yeah, there's lots of aching, but it's short term. You know, you get that after a very tough training session to some extent, you know. But on the serious note, it really brought home to me the things I've been talking about in the last couple of blogs. The idea that the hidden disabilities are not always acknowledged, not always seen. You know, I mean, if I put my shawl on the right way, you wouldn't even know that I'd hurt my hand, or my arm, my shoulder, whatever you call it. You know, you wouldn't know. And therefore, you might not make adaptations, you know, you might not compensate for it, you might not be supportive of somebody who's walking around and seems to be spending an awfully long time doing something. Yeah, it's going to take me a long time because my arm's in a sling, and if you can see that my arm's in a sling, you might be a bit more sympathetic, you know. But not all things are noticeable. The child with cerebral palsy, if he's not actually, when he was walking you could see it, but you couldn't see it when he was writing, and yet the writing was so painful for him. He'd been at his previous school from the one where I taught him. They'd told him off for his handwriting. Can you believe that? They told him off for having messy handwriting and being slow. Well, duh, you try doing it with cerebral palsy. Not as easy as you might think. You know, I'm struggling just to write with my left hand at the moment. And as I said before, those tick boxes, they don't tell the story. There is no room in those tick boxes for that important, really crucial nuance behind it, that story behind the tick box that's actually going to tell you why something is needed. And anybody out there who has fractured an arm, broken a leg, dislocated a shoulder and been out of action in that way for a short period of time with the pain that goes with it, hopefully they will have the understanding. And all I can hope is that the various people in charge of setting out these wretched tick boxes, I don't wish harm on anyone. I'm not saying I want them to go out and break an arm, but I want them to reflect on the times when they have been incapacitated for some reason or other, because most people will at some point have got a part of their body that's been out of use because of a cut, a break, a fracture, a dislocation or whatever. Think about that, and think about it when it's no longer the situation. You know, it's all very well thinking about it now while I'm in pain. I want to hold on to the experience so that I remain empathetic. It's all very well to be sympathetic, but to empathise you have to actually get how it feels. And when you get how it feels, hopefully you will make the adaptations, because if the society around you changes and adapts and is considerate and makes allowances, then that will at least help this to not be as bad as it could be. I'm lucky. This is temporary, and it's my own fault for rushing to water the garden before MasterChef was on. If I hadn't been in such a great rush to watch MasterChef, then maybe I would have noticed the step and not tripped up. I'm fortunate. The people we are trying to support and get better conditions for are not so fortunate, and it's our responsibility to make their life as easy and as manageable as we can. Thank you.